بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today inshallah we'll be solving Mathematics Paper 1 Pure Mathematics 1 May June 2023 Variant 2 Code 9709. Bismillah. On to question number 1. بيقول لك the equation of a curve is such that dy by dx is equal to 4 all divided by x minus 3 raised to the power of 3 for x is greater than 3. The curve passes through the points 4, 5. Find the equation of the curve. هلا هو مدينا the derivative of the function وبيقول لنا نجيب the equation for the original function. ماشي. There's a process that allows us to, if we're given the derivative, we can get the original function, and this is called integrating both sides. If we integrate both sides, simply integrating dy by dx will give us the original function اللي هي هتكون y. Okay, and onto the right hand side, when we integrate 4 divided by x minus 3 raised to the power of 3, this we can write it as 4 multiplied by x minus 3 raised to the power of negative 3, and obviously we're integrating with respect to the variable x. حلو. You can just take your constant out 4 and then write it as y is equal to 4 the integral of x minus 3 raised to the power of negative 3 with respect to x. And now اللي هو المين جول بتاعنا دلوقتي ان احنا نعرف integrate this expression. ماشي. فأقول لك حاجة حلوة كده نعملها ان احنا consider another function. معلش هستخدم نفس ال output. consider y is equal to x minus 3 to the power of negative 2. I basically added 1 to our exponent. حلو. ماشي. And then هنحاول ناخد the derivative of this function. dy by dx y prime doesn't really matter. It's going to be equal to negative 2 multiplied by the derivative of what's inside the bracket multiplied by x minus 3 raised to the power of negative 2 minus 1 اللي هي negative 3. negative 2 times 1 اللي هي negative 2 برضو times x minus 3 raised to the power of negative 2 minus 1 اللي هي negative 3. basically derivative دوت هو derivative دوت بس we have to divide negative 2. ماشي. if we want to obtain this derivative from this function, we just have to write it as a new function اللي هتكون negative 1/2 times x minus 3 raised to the power of negative 2. عشان لو انت حاولت المرة دي to take the derivative of this, you'll just simply end up with x minus 3 raised to the power of negative 3 اللي هو اللي عندنا فوق. therefore we can conclude that the integral of x minus 3 raised to the power of negative 3 is equal to negative half x minus 3 raised to the power of negative 2. حلو. فنكتب تحت كده y is equal to 4 multiplied by our integral اللي هو يكون negative 1 over 2 وهنسأل البراكت تحت x minus 2 squared وبرضو don't forget our constant integration c. فدخل ال 4 جوه you'll end up with y is equal to negative 2 divided by x minus 2 squared plus c. وعشان لو احنا عاوزين find our constant of integration c, we'll simply substitute our x coordinate and y coordinate given in the question. عندنا لو كتبنا تحت كده when x is equal to 4 we know that y is equal to 5. Just substitute your values and then solve for c. فنكتب 5 is equal to negative 2 divided by 4 minus 2. oh hold on a minute, أنا عملت غلطة معلش, this should be 3 not 2. okay, حلو. فكون x minus 3 squared plus c. okay, 4 minus 3 is 1. بعدها we'll add 2 to both sides giving us that c is equal to 7. That's it. therefore the equation of our curve is going to be equal to negative 2 divided by x minus 3 squared plus 7. ممكن برضو تطلع البراكت دوت, it doesn't really matter. Okay, question number 2. The coefficient of x raised to the power of 4 in the expansion of x plus a all raised to the power of 6 is p. فدوت the coefficient of x raised to the power of 4 in this expansion. بعد يبقى لك the coefficient of x squared in the expansion of ax plus 3 all raised to the power of 4 is q. فدوت بتاع x squared in this expansion. It is given that the coefficient of x raised to the power of 4 هو p plus q اللي هو the coefficient of x squared is equal to 276. Find the possible values of the constant a. حلو. تعالى أول حاجة نعملها إن احنا find the coefficient of x raised to the power of 4 in this expansion right here. نكتب كده x plus a raised power of 6. طبعا هتضطر تستخدم الباينوميال expansion formula. when you apply it, you'll end up with x raised power of 6 plus 6c1 times a times x raised power of 5. We're basically subtracting 1 from the exponent of our first term اللي هو x. We're adding 1 to our exponent of our second term اللي هو a. ماشي. بعدها plus 6c2 times a squared times x raised power of 4. This is our coefficient of x raised power of 4. So when you calculate 6c2, this is calculated using this formula, or you can use your calculator. When you have مثلا NCR, this is calculated by n factorial divided by r factorial minus multiplied by n minus r o factorial. Or you can use your NCR button below your AC button on your calculator. For 6c2, this is simply equal to 15. So we can conclude that the coefficient of x raised to the power of 4 is equal to 15 multiplied by a square, because a is a constant طبعا. ماشي. فكده ممكن نقول ان p is equal to 15a squared. دلوقتي تعال نطلع our coefficient of x squared in this expansion. تكتب كده ax plus 3 raised to the power of 4. لما تexpand عشان نطلع coefficient of بتاع x squared, we'll end up with a raised to the power of 4 times x raised to the power of 4 plus 4c1 اللي هي 4 يعني times 3 times 3 times a raised to the power of 3 times x raised to the power of 3. بعدها finally plus 4c2 times 3 squared times a squared x squared. The coefficient of x squared in this expansion is this right here, 4c2 3 squared times a squared. 4c2 that is equal to 6. فلو كتبنا هنا coefficient of x squared, this is equal to 4c2 اللي هي 6 times 3 squared اللي هي 9 times 9 times a squared. 6 times 9 is equal to 54. This is equal to 54a squared. Therefore, q is equal to 54a squared. بيقول لك p plus q is equal to 176. فأنت عندك p هنا و q هنا، هنكتبهم تحت. p اللي هي 15a squared plus q اللي هي 54a squared is equal to 276. Add them, you'll end up with 50 plus 54 is equal to 69. a squared divided by 276. بعدها divide, you'll end up with a squared is equal to 4, and a is equal to plus or minus 2. That's it. Okay, question number 3. Express for part a 4x squared minus 24x plus b in the form a times x plus b all squared plus c. This is a completed square form where a and b are integers and c is to be given in terms of the constant b. ماشي. احنا عندنا quadratic formula أو quadratic expression، وعندنا برضه the completed square of this quadratic expression. فأنت عندك two ways to solve this expression. عندك ممكن أنت expand this expression and then compare the coefficients with this other expression, أو you can straight away just complete the square for this one. فأنا I'll just expand this and compare coefficients عشان if I try to complete the square I won't explain much. ماشي. هنكتب كده let's expand this. We'll end up with a times x squared plus 2bx plus b squared plus c. Then we can multiply all of that by a. So we'll end up with ax squared plus 2ab plus ab squared plus c. And you should know that this is the exact same for expression as this. So you can just set them to be equal to each other, and then start comparing the coefficients. Ax squared plus 2ab plus ab squared plus c is equivalent to 4x squared minus 24x plus b. دلوقتي بقى تعالى compare our coefficients. هتلاحظ هنا ان the coefficient of x squared are a and 4, meaning a is equal to 4. الله أكبر. ماشي. بعدها the coefficient of x عندنا the coefficients of x sorry أنا نسيت أكتب الx هنا. ماشي. the coefficients of x are 2ab و 24 negative 24, meaning that 2ab is equal to negative 24. احنا لسه مطلعين the value of a. we're going to just substitute it into this. بعديها 2 times 4 اللي هي 8 8b is equal to negative 24, meaning b is equal to negative 24 divided by 8 اللي هي negative 3. حلو. And then we can finally compare our constants. عندنا constants in this in the left hand side ab square plus c is equal to the constant in the right hand side اللي هي p. already عارفين a and b. a times b square اللي هي 4 times negative 3 square اللي هي 36 plus c is equal to p. therefore c is equal to p minus 36. بس كده ماشي. فانت برضو ممكن تكتب كده في الاخر 4 times x b اللي هي negative 3 squared plus p minus 36. بس كده. بيقول لك في point b بقى hence or otherwise find the set of values of p for which the equation 4x squared minus 24x plus p is equal to 0 has no real roots. ممكن عندك طريقتين. ممكن ان انت تستخدم ال coefficients والconstant to form a discriminant equation and then set to be less than 0 and then solve for p, أو تستخدم your answer in port A to solve the equation in port B. أنا عن نفسي أستخدم our solution in port A to solve port B. عندنا هنا our completed square form is 4 times x minus 3 squared plus p minus 36. وهو in port B هنا خليها لك equal to 0 وبيقول لك that this equation has no real roots, meaning it does not intersect with the x-axis. حلو. it may not have no real roots but it will have imaginary roots or complex roots. المهم تعال كده نشوف and try to solve for x. we'll end up with 4 times x minus 3 squared is equal to 36 minus p. You can divide 4 on both sides, giving you x minus 3 squared is equal to 36 minus p divided by 4. بعدين تاخد square root. هيكون عندك x minus 3 plus and minus the square root of 36 minus p divided by 4. The square root of 1 over 4 is equal to half, فممكن ناخد half برا كده is equal to plus minus 1 over 2 the square root of 36 minus p. دلوقتي من هنا ممكن تبتدي تحل أو to find the set of values of p. احنا عشان ما يكونش عندنا like no real solutions for this equation مفروض the square root يكون negative, اللي جوه square root يكون negative. فأنت عشان تعرف like the square root of any negative number is not real, it's imaginary. you can say that اللي جوه square root of 36 minus p is less than 0. Okay, I can then just add p to both sides, giving you p is greater than 36. عشان انت لو فكرت فيها مثلا if p is 37 we'll end up with x minus 3 is equal to plus and minus half. 36 minus 37 is negative 1, which is not real. This is imaginary. This is imaginary. Therefore, we do not have any real roots. ماشي بس كده. فكده p is greater than 36. This is your answer. برضه ممكن تكتبها as p greater than 36 till infinity, أو ممكن تكتبها in set notation 36 infinity. Doesn't really matter. They're all the same. Question number 4. Solve the equation 8x raised to the power of 6 plus 215x raised to the power of 3 minus 27 is equal to 0. فأنت أكيد بتستغرب من equation ديت. This is not a quadratic ولا cubic ولا quartic ولا quintic equation. أنت عندك x raised to the power of 6 و x raised to the power of 3. مفيش x square ولا x ولا x raised to the power of 4. مفيش الكلام دوت. فأنت طريقة حلوة إن أنت تعملها إن أنت let x raised to the power of 3 فتكتب كده let x raised to the power of 3 is equal to another variable, let's say مثلا y. ماشي. if x raised to the power of 3 is equal to y, therefore we can say that y square is equal to x raised to the power of 3 square, and then we'll multiply our exponents, giving us y square is equal to x raised to the power of 6. فأنت just substitute this into your equation. 8 times x raised to the power of 6 اللي هي y square plus 215 x raised to the power of 3 اللي هي y minus 27 is equal to 0. دلوقتي عندنا quadratic equation جميلة كده ممكن تحلها using your calculator أو the quadratic formula. Let's see if this is factorizable or not. It is. We can write it as 8y minus 1 multiplied by y plus 27 is equal to 0. But you'll get two solutions for y. You'll get that y can be equal to 1 over 8, or y can be equal to negative 27. ماشي. ولكن we're told solve for x not for y. فأنت دلوقتي هتضطر substitute x raised to the power of 3 x raised to the power of 3 with y. فهتكتب كده if y is equal to 1 over 8, then we can say that تعال نكتب مثلا بالأبيض that x cubed is equal to 1 over 8. ونفس الحاجة برضو x cubed is equal to negative 27. Now you can just take the cube root from both sides, solve for x. x is equal to the cube root of 1 over 8, which is equal to 1 over 2. Okay, now we found one solution for x. X is equal to 1 over 2. حلو. دلوقتي let's find our second solution for x by taking the cube root of both sides. x is equal to the cube root of negative 27 اللي هي using your calculator get that x is equal to negative 3, because negative 3 raised to the power of 3 is negative 27. ماشي. And these are your two solutions. X is equal to half and x is equal to negative 3. Okay, question number 5. The diagram shows the curve with the equation y is equal to 10 times the square root of x minus 5 over 2 x raised to the power of 3 over 2, where x is greater than 0. This is our domain for the function. We like the curve meets the x-axis at the point 0, 0 and 4, 0. Find the area of the shaded region. The shaded region. حلو. فأنت area of the shaded region هنا it lies between the points at which the curve crosses the x-axis, or you can say the point 0, the x-coordinate 0 and the x-coordinate 4. فأنت if you want to find the area below a function, you'll have to integrate this function. We can integrate our function f of x, and our limits will be 0 and 4. And obviously we'll have to integrate it with respect to x. F of x is our function ديت. You can just substitute it. فعندك 10 x to the power of half minus 5 over 2 x raised to the power of 3 over 2, integrate it with respect to x, and our limits are 0 and 4. ماشي. And you should know that the general way of integrating a function that's written in the form ax raised to the power of n, if you want to integrate that with respect to x, this will be equal to a multiplied by x raised to the power of n plus 1. You basically add a 1 to the exponent of x and then divide that whole expression by our new exponent اللي هو n plus 1. برضه ما تنساش your constant of integration. But since we have limits, we are integrating, we have a definite integration, then you do not need your constant of integration. ماشي. Because it will simply cancel out. حلو. فأنت أول حاجة هنعملها إن إحنا add 1 to our exponent, giving us 10 x raised to the power of 1 half plus 1 is simply 3 over 2. بعدها divide this by 3 over 2. ماشي. this is equal to كده. بعدها minus 5 over 2 x 3 over 2 plus 1 is 5 over 2 divided by 5 over 2, where our limits are 4 and 0. Okay, 10 divided by 3 over 2 is equal to 20 over 3 x raised to the power of 3 over 2 minus 5 over 2 divided by 5 over 2 is simply 1. minus x raised to the power of 5 over 2, والlimit بتاعتك 4 and 0 I mean. ماشي. أخيرا you can just substitute your limits and then subtract them from each other. فأول هتكتب كده 4 20 over 3 times 4 raised to the power of 3 over 2 minus 4 raised to the power of 5 over 2 ده كده كله minus هتسubstitute x equal to 0 اللي هي في الآخر هتطلع 0 يعني. I do not أصلا need to write this. just evaluate this onto your calculator وهيطلع لك 20 over 3 times 4 raised to the power of 3 over 2 minus 4 raised to the power of 5 over 2. Let me just write it كده on my calculator. هيطلع لك this is equal to 64 divided by 3. This is the area of our shaded region. That's it. Question number 6. The diagram shows a sector OAB of a circle with center O and angle OAB is theta radians. The angle is going in radians. We are like OP is equal to AP, which is equal to x. Show that the arc length AB is equal to 2x theta times cosine of theta. We want to show that the arc length, this one, the length دوت, is equal to 2x theta times cosine of theta. How can we prove this? Well, تعالى أول حاجة نشوف الجيفنز بتوعنا. زي ما قلت عندنا الانجل theta radians بتاعت السكتر، وعندنا OP is equal to AP which is equal to X. As you can see here عندنا triangle OAP. We have two equal sides OP and AP. Therefore we can conclude that this is an isosceles triangle, where we can also say that this angle is theta radians and this angle is a 180 degrees minus 2 theta. But since we're using radians, we'll have to say that this angle is equal to a pi minus 2 theta radians. حلو. يقول لك show that the arc length مش عارف is equal to 2x theta times cosine of theta. Well, you should know that the formula for the arc length is given by L is equal to the radius of the sector times the angle of the sector. حلو. We do not know the radius, but we know the angle. Radius is OA, or you can also say OB. But OB is quite difficult to find, I'd say OA is much easier to find. We need to find OA. What is it equal to? Well, since we عندنا triangle هنا عندنا two equal sides وعندنا all the angles، ممكن نستخدم الساين أو الكوزين. Okay. فمثلا تعال نستخدم الساين to find the side length OA. Sine rule. The sine of the opposite angle of the side اللي هي sine اللي هي pi minus 2 theta divided by the opposite side اللي هو ايه OA. حلو. This is equal to مثلا تعال نستخدم this sine of theta is equal to the opposite side اللي هي x. ماشي. فتعمل cross multiply وبتاع هطلع لك OA is equal to x sine pi minus 2 theta divided by sine theta. بس انت عشان بعدها خلاص cool we found the radius and then هنضربها ايه في الانجل theta، فهيطلع لنا arc length AB is equal to x theta times sine pi minus 2 theta divided by sine theta. ولكن this is not the answer. I mean, even though they are equivalent, they are not the exact same because sine pi minus 2 theta is not here. فأنت you did not learn how to expand this in AS level. It is in A2 level, the double angle formula. This method will not work. Let us consider another method. فتعال نمسح بقى الهبل ده كله. Let us again consider our triangle OAP. ونمسح الحتة دي كده. We know that OAP is an isosceles triangle, meaning that if we draw a perpendicular line that connects OA and the vertex B, we'll end up with this. Okay, we'll end up with a perpendicular line. These two angles are 90 degrees, where these two angles are also equal. The two shapes formed are congruent, meaning that the corresponding angles and sides are exactly equal. حلو. I know that this is equal to this. فلو احنا بس عرفنا نجيب دوت ممكن نضربه في 2 بعدين نجيب الراديوس. حلو. As you can see here احنا عندنا ايه؟ عندنا right angle triangle، عندنا O مثلا let's call this point D. عندنا right angle triangle ODP triangle دوت ارسمه كده تاني هنا. اوكي. عندنا angle دي ثيتا واحنا عاوزين نجيب ديت let's call it Y مثلا side length دوت. We're also given the hypotenuse which is x, which is opposite to the right angle. I can use trigonometry since the sides we're given are the adjacent and the hypotenuse. We can use cosine. I know that the cosine of theta is equal to the adjacent divided by the hypotenuse اللي هي y over x, meaning that y is equal to x times cosine of theta. Well, since we said that احنا قلنا that the radius اللي هو OA is equal to 2y, we can conclude that OA is equal to 2 times x cosine of theta اللي هي 2x cosine of theta. Okay, we're getting somewhere, alhamdulillah. Now, since we got the radius, we just need to multiply by theta to find the arc length. فنكتب كده هنا. The arc length AB is equal to theta times, let's use the dot بس أحسن. So the variable x, 2 times x cosine of theta اللي هي 2x theta cosine of theta QED. الله أكبر. Okay, part B. Find the area of the shaded region APB in terms of x and theta. The area of the shaded region APB, where is it? This is the shaded region right here. حلو. As you can see right here, we can define the area of the shaded region APB. ممكن مثلا نكتب area of APB equal to the area of the sector minus شيل بقى من دوت the area of the triangle AOP. I do not think that is difficult to understand. الاريا ديت عشان لو عايز تجيبها simply هتجيب الاريا بتاعت السكتور دوت كله وتشيل منه الاريا بتاعت التراينجل دوت الاسوسيلس تراينجل AOP. ماشي. فتعالى اول حاجه نجيبها the area of the sector. the area of the sector is given by the formula A is equal to theta, which is the angle of the sector, times the radius of the sector squared divided by 2. Okay. فتعالى نكتب هنا area of sector is equal to theta, just theta, times r squared. We know that r is equal to 2x cosine of theta. If I square that, you'll get 4x squared times cosine squared of theta, divide that by 2. You'll end up with 2x squared theta cosine squared theta. But this is the area of the sector in terms of x and theta. بعدها تعالى نجيب the area of the triangle AOP. نكتب هنا actually ممكن نستخدم اللون ده فنكتب area of triangle AOP is given by the formula. well انت ممكن تعمل ايه؟ ممكن تجيب ال area of this right angle triangle بعدها تضربها في 2 او ممكن تجيب the area of this whole triangle just by using the sine law. But the sine law states that the area of a triangle is given by half times you multiply that by 2 sides of the triangle multiplied by the sine of the angle between these 2 sides. Let's say مثلا we take this side and this side. If we use these 2 sides, we'll have to multiply by the sine of the angle between them, which is theta. Okay. حلو. فتعالى مثلا actually let's use this in our example. The formula says that half times the radius اللي هو هيكون 2x cosine theta times the other side اللي هو x times the sine of the angle between them اللي هي theta. فتعمل simplify and you'll end up with 2x sorry, there's no 2. You'll end up with x squared sine theta cosine of theta. Since we finally found the area of the sector and the area of the triangle, you can just subtract these two to find the area of the shaded region. فنكتب كده area بتاعت APB is given by 2x squared theta cosine squared minus the area of the triangle هي x squared sine theta times cosine theta. You can just factor out x squared and cosine theta, giving us x squared times cosine theta, giving us 2 theta cosine minus sine theta. This is the final answer. By first expanding cosine of theta plus sine of theta all squared, find the 3 solutions of the equation cosine of theta plus sine of theta all squared where it is equal to 1 for theta greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to pi. طبعا انت يا باشا ما تجيش تعمل لي square root of both sides عشان هو هنا ياسك اخواتك بيقول لك by first expanding this bracket right here. حلو. فلما تيجي تعمل expand you'll end up with cosine squared theta plus 2 sine theta times cosine of theta plus sine squared of theta. حلو. where it is equal to 1 طبعا. وانت عندك identity that states that sine squared of theta plus cosine squared of theta this is equal to 1. فدوت sine squared plus cosine squared this is 1. I can write it as 2 sine theta times cosine of theta is equal to plus 1 is equal to 1. I can subtract 1 from both sides. بعدها يكون عندك 0 هنا. بعدها divide by 2 وبرضه هدوت هيفضل 0. you'll end up with sine of theta times cosine of theta is equal to 0. فأنت عندك 2 cases. ممكن يكون عندك sine of theta is equal to 0 or نكتب كده الناحية التانية cosine of theta is equal to 0. هو مديك الرينج بتاع أو الدومين أو the range of values of theta between 0 and pi inclusively. فاحنا لو جينا رسمنا the graph of sine between 0 and pi هيكون هنا كده. وهتلاحظ the solutions for when y is equal to 0 هتلاحظ it is 0 and pi. فأور sorry دي المفروض تكون ثيتا بس مش فارقة كتير. فالثيتا is equal to 0 and pi. ولما نيجي عند cosine of theta is equal to 0 ونرسم الجراف بتاعنا of cosine of theta هتلاحظ that it only crosses the x-axis once between 0 and pi and it crosses it at the point pi over 2 ف theta is equal to pi over 2. Our three solutions are 0 pi over 2 و pi. That's it. بيقول لك بقى for part I hence verify that the only solutions of the equation cosine of theta plus sine of theta is equal to 1 for theta is greater than or equal to 0 less than or equal to pi or 0 and pi over 2. You'll simply just substitute your values of theta into this equation and prove that the only solutions for this equation is 0 and pi over 2. فأنت هتقول له كده when x is equal to when theta is equal to 0 ماشي سهمة كده حلو. هتقول له cosine of 0 plus sine of 0 is equal to 1. احنا عارفين ان cosine of 0 is equal to 1 and sine of 0 is 0 ف 1 plus 0 is indeed equal to 1. That's correct. بعدها when theta is equal to pi over 2 cosine of pi over 2 plus sine of pi over 2 is equal to 1. The cosine of pi over 2 is 0 and sine of pi over 2 is 1. This is indeed equal to 1. وتيجي بقى في آخر واحدة تقول له 1 theta is equal to pi تقول له كده cosine of pi plus sine of pi is equal to 1. cosine of pi هتلاحظ هنا في الجراف بتاعنا is equal to negative 1 و sine of pi is equal to 0 و this should be equal to 1 however it is not. فتكتب له كده not equal to negative 1 is obviously not equal to 1. Hence we have finally proved that the only solutions to our equation cosine of theta plus sine of theta is equal to 1 are 0 and pi over 2. Okay, for part B, prove the identity of sine of theta divided by cosine of theta plus sine of theta plus 1 minus cosine of theta all divided by cosine of theta minus sine of theta is equivalent to cosine of theta plus sine of theta minus 1 divided by 1 minus 2 sine squared of theta. This is worth 3 marks. أول حاجة هنعملها إن إحنا عاوزين نبروف is equal to دوت. فأول حاجة هنضطر نعملها إن إحنا نعمل common denominator between these two fractions. The first fraction will multiply top and bottom by cosine of theta minus sine of theta دوت top and bottom حلو. وتاني fraction will multiply top and bottom by cosine of theta plus sine of theta حلو ماشي. فلما نيجي نعمل كده هنكتبها as sine of theta دوت كده multiplied by cosine of theta minus sine of theta دوت بعدها plus 1 minus cosine of theta times cosine of theta plus sine of theta. Well, since they now have the common denominator we can add them up. That's why I wrote them all in the same fraction. بعدها نكتب cosine of theta plus sine of theta times cosine of theta minus sine of theta. وهتلاحظ نحن when we expand this كده أصلا it looks it will be cosine squared minus sine squared اللي هي difference of two squares. فممكن بس نمسحها كده دلوقتي ونكتبها كده عشان مضيعش وقت كتير. فنكتبها as cosine squared theta minus sine squared theta. دلوقتي بقى هنضطر expand our brackets and start doing some algebraic manipulations. فكده نكتب sine of theta cosine of theta minus sine squared. بعدها هنضطر expand these two brackets. 1 times cosine is cosine 1 times sine is sine. Negative cosine times cosine is negative cosine squared. Negative cosine times sine is negative sine theta times cosine of theta. ده كده كله divided by cosine squared minus sine squared. حلو. هتلاحظ هنا احنا عندنا في حاجات كنسلت ديت وديت. وبرضو تعالى كده ممكن نستخدم an identity I had to get rid of these two. You'll see in a moment هنعمل ايه بالظبط. لو كتبناهم جنب بعض negative sine squared of theta minus cosine squared of theta دوت كده plus cosine plus sine divided by بقى cosine squared minus sine squared. هتلاحظ ان احنا if we factor out negative 1 from both our first two terms we'll end up with نكتبها هنا negative 1 times sine squared plus cosine squared ودوت is equal to 1 according to a trigonometric identity. فالنيجاتيف 1 times 1 is equal to negative 1. فاحنا ممكن نكتبها as cosine of theta plus sine of theta minus 1 is equal divided by cosine squared minus sine squared. ولكن هتلاحظ ان احنا لسه الفراكشن بتاعنا مش نفس اللي احنا عاوزين نعمله في question. فهنضطر ان احنا هتلاحظ ان عاوزين we want to get rid of cosine squared. We'll have to use this identity right here. فwe'll write it as عندنا sine squared theta أو إيه مش فارقة plus cosine squared is equal to 1. فهنودي sine squared الناحية التانية giving us cosine squared is equal to 1 minus sine squared. بعديها we'll just substitute this into this giving us cosine of theta plus sine of theta minus 1 divided by cosine square اللي هي 1 minus sine square. ف 1 minus sine squared minus sine squared is equal to minus 2 sine squared and QED. Alright. For part C, using the results of A, double I, and B, solve the equation sine of theta divided by cosine of theta plus sine of theta plus 1 minus cosine of theta divided by cosine of theta minus sine of theta is equal to 2 times cosine of theta plus sine of theta minus 1 for theta is greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to pi. وبيقول لك using the results of A double I and B. فهنا B في part B انت بس substitute these two fractions with this simplified fraction. حلو. فهنكتب it was sine theta plus cosine theta minus 1 divided by يبقى 1 minus 2 sine squared theta دوت كده is equal to 2 times cosine of theta plus sine of theta minus 1. فهتلاحظ ان احنا ممكن we can divide by the bracket cosine of theta plus sine of theta minus 1 from both sides. حلو. And then we'll end up with 1 divided by 1 minus 2 sine squared of theta is equal to 2. حركة 2 هناك or you can actually just flip the fraction, flip both sides, giving us 1 minus 2 sine squared of theta is equal to a half. and هودي هناك وودي الفراكشن دوت هناك then divide by 2 giving you sine squared of theta is equal to 1 over 4. حلو. And then you'll just take the squares of both sides giving you sine of theta is equal to plus or minus 1 over 2. And finally you can just solve for theta where theta lies between 0 and pi inclusively. فانت what you'll do right now ان احنا هنعمل ايه, you can use the asterisk to solve this. I would just simply draw the sine graph. فاحنا if we draw the sine graph تعالى كده مثلا هنا على الجنب احنا رسمناها between 0 and pi, we'll end up with this graph right here. حلو. 0 and pi. ماشي. if we drew y is equal to half and y is equal to negative half. تعال نرسم كده مثلا دوت كده y is equal to half. actually خليها هنا. فدوت y is equal to half ونرسم y is equal to negative half. هتلاحظ ان y is equal to negative half has no solutions. we'll end up with only two solutions. we can say that the solutions for sine of theta is equal to plus or minus 1 over 2 lie in this equation sine of theta is equal to a half. And we just want to find the x-coordinates of these two intersections. ماشي. هتلاحظ ان احنا we can simply just take the inverse of both sides to find the value of theta. Theta is equal to sine inverse 1 over 2 which is equal to pi over 6. pi over 6 is our first intersection. دوت كده هنا is equal to pi over 6. ولكن احنا عاوزين find our second point of intersection. We can just use a property of sine graphs that they are symmetrical, meaning that the distance between the origin and pi over 6, or this point of intersection, is the same distance as this point of intersection and pi. حلو. فعشان to find this point of intersection you just subtract pi over 6 from pi. The two solutions are pi over 6 and pi minus pi over 6, which is equal to 5 pi over 6. You'll end up with theta is equal to pi over 6 and 5 pi over 6. These are the only two solutions. Now, question number 8. The diagram shows the graph of y is equal to f of x, where the function f is defined by f of x is equal to 3 plus 2 sine of x over 4, for x is greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to 2 pi. On the diagram above, sketch the graph of y is equal to f inverse of x. أول حاجة نعملها if we want to draw the inverse function of any function, تجيب كده الجريد عندك، بعدها ترسم your original function طبعا وهي مرسومة already عندنا، بعدها ترسم the line y is equal to x. حلو. فالline y is equal to x will look something like this. هيكون طبعا عنده gradient 1. حلو. So we will pass through the diagonals of the squares وادي دوت y is equal to x. حلو. بعديها الجراف اللي هو original function بتاعك f of x, you'll simply reflect this curve onto the line y is equal to x to sketch your inverse function. ماشي. your reflected function will look something like this. حلو. you simply swap the domain and the range. يعني domain بتاع f of x بقى الرينج بتاع f inverse والrange بتاع f of x بقى الدومين بتاع f inverse. ماشي. ده كده y is equal to f inverse. ولما تخلص امسح y is equal to x. ماشي. يقول لك في part B find an expression for f inverse of x. f inverse of x هتعمل أول حاجة إن احنا نشيل f of x واكتب بدلها x. فهنكتب x is equal to 3 plus 2 sine. بعدها بدل x طبعا هتكتب y over 4. ماشي. بعدها your main goal هنا إن أنت to make y the subject. subtract 3. حلو. بعدها divide by 2. Then take the inverse of sine from both sides, giving us sine inverse of x minus 3 divided by 2 is equal to the sine inverse of sine اللي هي يكون y over 4. بعدها multiply 4 from both sides by both sides to end up with y is equal to 4 times sine inverse x minus 3 over 2. ولو حبيت تكتب له الدومين بتاعك هيكون استعلى بس بنكتب كده f inverse 4 sine of inverse x minus 3 divided by 2. كنت بقول لو انت حبيت تكتب له الدومين بتاع f inverse you'll simply write the range of f of x, range بتاع f of x is equal to lies between pi and ديت معرفش ال exact value بتاعتها على ال y axis, فال just write f of 2 pi. ماشي. وانت احسبها بعدها اكتبها تحت بس كده. ماشي. Part C, the diagram above shows part of the graph of the function g of x is equal to 3 plus 2 sine of x over 4, for x is greater than or equal to negative 2 pi and less than or equal to 2 pi. Complete the sketch of the graph of g of x on the diagram above and hence explain whether the function g has an inverse. Okay, that's a nice question. طبعا this is a sine function أو it's a sine function بس حصل لها شوية transformations, فأكيد برضو it will still look like a wave, مش هيحصل لها كده يعني, فاهمني؟ as you can see here our maximum point is at 2 pi. That means that our minimum point would become at negative 2 pi. If I can just draw complete your graph كده وعندنا minimum point at negative 2 pi. That looks more like a straight line. استنى كده أظبطها. ماشي, that's better. بيقول لك and hence explain whether the function g has an inverse or not. يعني ايه؟ well how can we determine whether a function has an inverse or not? أول حاجة عشان تعرف if it has an inverse or not هتشوف على الجراف بتاع g of x. لو every x coordinate has a distinct y coordinate then this can have an inverse. However, if there is more than one x coordinate that produce the same output, then this means it cannot have an inverse function. Let me explain. دلوقتي a straight line this is a 1-to-1 function. ليه؟ Because every x coordinate corresponds to one output. Every input corresponds to one output. فاهمني؟ بس if we مثلا draw a parabola, okay, a parabola, maybe this x coordinate and this x coordinate, they both produce the same output, meaning that this cannot have an inverse function. We call this a many-to-one function. Usually many-to-one functions cannot have some of the inverses, while one-to-one functions can have inverses. عشان like usually الانverse الدومين والرينج بيحصل لهم swap, and we know that functions a function cannot be one to many. فالفكرة هنا انت مثلا الانverse بتاع this will become one to many, and you cannot have a function that is one to many. Do you get what I mean? ماشي. I will just write down below كده that yes it can have an inverse because it's a one-to-one function. حلو. Now بيقول لك for part D, describe fully a sequence of 3 transformations which can be combined to transform the graph of y is equal to sine of x for x is greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to pi over 2 to the graph of y equals to f of x, making clear the order in which the transformations are applied. y is equal to f of x هو الجراف اللي فوق اللي هو دوت. حلو. ماشي. فتعالى بس نكتب f of x. كانت بتقول لك 3 plus 2 sin x. ماشي. أنا هكتب كده f of x. هكتب y is equal to sin x. هكتب f of x is equal to 3 plus 2 sine of x divided by 4. فتعال نشوف the transformations done on the y plane and the transformations done on the x plane. Let us start with the x plane. تعال كده مثلا نكتب the x plane. usually the transformations done on the x plane على طول بتحصل جوه البراكت بتاع the trigonometric function. since يعني مثلا the only transformation done inside the bracket is sine of x over 4, you basically multiplied, it basically says that you multiplied all the x coordinates by 1 over 4. فاهمني? However, this is false. We usually do the opposite. فمثلا let me explain. If we write maybe like sine x divided sine of x over 4, this means that we multiplied by the reciprocal of the constant of x inside the trigonometric function. يعني let me give you كده erase this. If we have sine of 2x, the transformation that we will write to describe this will say that there is a horizontal stretch by scale factor. The scale factor will be the reciprocal of the constant. The reciprocal of 2 is simply 1 over 2. Okay? I will just write هنا the x plane. There is a horizontal stretch by scale factor of the reciprocal of 1 over 4, which is simply 4. دلوقتي let us see the transformations done on the y plane. انت شايف كده عندنا هنا 3 and 2. 2 ديت بنضربها في the trigonometric function, و 3 is just a constant we add or subtract it. As you can see here we have 2 transformations done on the y plane. فما ينفعش تقول مثلا this بعدها تعمل ديت، لا the order matters. على طول we usually do the stretch first. فتكتب كده أول حاجة تعمل ال vertical stretch because this is the y plane. فتكتب vertical stretch. لسه هنتكلم in detail about it in a bit. Where the second would be the vertical translation. And this is usually the translation بتحصل تطلع فوق تنزل تحت على حسب الكوفيشنت بتاع our constant that we add or subtract. ماشي. vertical stretch انت شايف we're multiplying by 2. I'll just simply write vertical stretch by scale factor 2. مش بتاخد الريسبريكال زي ما بتعمل في transformation بتاعت الاكس. وهنا vertical translation ما هتقول ان احنا vertical translation by vector هتكتب بقى column vector كده في في الرو بتاع الاكس مش بنعمل فيه اي حاجة، او ماشي because this is the y plane، ولكن في الرو بتاع الواي we add 3. For question number 9, the second term of a geometric progression is 16 and the sum to infinity is 100. Find the two possible values of the first term for part A. تعالى بس كده نشوف احنا عندنا geometric progression أو geometric sequence. geometric sequence دوت على طول بيكون written in the form. أول term عندنا بيكون A اللي هو ال first term، والتاني term بيكون A times the common ratio R، والتالت term بيكون A times the common ratio squared، ورابع term بيكون AR 3 raised power 3 and so on. حلو. بيقول لك the second term of a geometric progression is 16، فالsecond term اللي هو دوت is equal to 16. AR is equal to 16. بيقول لك بقى the sum to infinity is 100. خد بالك sum to infinity ديت ليها condition. الcondition دوت ان R اللي هو common ratio بتاعنا يكون greater than -1 and less than 1. اوكي، بس دوت يعني كده مش هيفيدنا في السؤال دوت. ف there's a formula for calculating the sum to infinity of a geometric progression which is given by the sum to infinity is equal to the first term divided by 1 minus the common ratio. حلو. ف let us كده write A divided by 1 minus R is equal to 100. حلو. بعدين بقول لك find the two possible values of the first term، يعني هيطلع لك A1 و A2 عايزك تطلع له these two values. ماشي. تعالى كده نحاول نsolve this equation. عشان تطلع an equation in terms of A هتخلي one equation in terms of R بعديها substitute. ماشي. فتعالى مثلا نخلي ديت this equation make R the subject، فيطلع لنا R is equal to 16 divided by A. حلو. For this we can substitute it into this equation and then we'll end up with an equation in terms of A which we can solve for. فتعالى نكتب هنا كده نغير اللون، نكتب A divided by 1 minus R اللي هي 16 over A which is equal to 100. This we can write it as A divided by A minus 16 divided by A which is equal to 100. Well, this is equal to A squared divided by A minus 16 which is equal to 100. هتعمل cross multiplication وتودي terms on the right hand side to the left hand side and you'll end up with A squared is equal to A squared minus 100A plus 1600 is equal to 0. This is a quadratic equation which you can solve for using the quadratic formula. So when you factor this out, you'll end up with two solutions for A. Let's factor it out first. We'll end up with A minus 80. That's our first bracket. And our second bracket will be A minus 20, which is equal to 0. Now we have two solutions for A. A can either be equal to 80 or A can either be equal to 20. This is our two possible values of A. وكده خلاص أول part. Okay, بيقول لك for part B show that the nth term of one of the two possible geometric progressions is equal to 4 raised power of n minus 2 multiplied by the nth term of the other geometric progression. حلو. تعال أول حاجة نطلع our two possible geometric progressions. واحدة when A is equal to 20 و when A is equal to 20 أو 80. أوكي. فهنكتب كده هنا when A is equal to 80. السيكونس بتاعنا هيكون كده 80 بعديها دوت في أول ترم. second term هيكون 80R. third term هيكون 80R squared and so on. Okay. Our nth term formula is given by un is equal to نكتب على جنب un is equal to A times R raised power of n minus 1. فتكون هنا un is equal to A اللي هي 80 times R raised power of n minus 1. واحنا we can find R by using an equation from part A اللي هي this equation right here. R is equal to 16 divided by A. يقول لك هنا R is equal to 16 divided by A. when A is equal to 18 R will be equal to 1 over 5. حلو. فكده ال nth term بتاعنا هيكون UN is equal to 80 times 1 over 5 raised power of n minus 1. ده كده ال nth term بتاع when A is equal to 80. تعال نشوف بقى when A is equal to 20. حلو. السيكونس بتاعنا برضه هيكون 20 بعدها 20R and then 20R squared and so on, a geometric progression. فال UN بتاعتنا هتكون 20 over raised to power of n minus 1. حط 20 في الإيكويشن ديت عشان نطلع الكومن ريشيو. 16 divided by 20 will give us 4 over 5. ف UN is equal to 20 multiplied by 4 over 5 raised to power of n minus 1. حلو كده طلعنا our two possible geometric progressions. فهو بيقول لك بقى في السؤال show that the nth term اللي هي ال nth term of one of the two possible geometric progressions يعني either ديت أو ديت is equal to 4 raised to power of n minus 2 multiplied by the nth term of the other geometric progression. بص أنا بس عايز أعمل تعديل صغير كده. أنا ديت wait a minute. أوكي فديت هنكتبها vn because these two should not have the same UN يعني. حلو ف this will be UN و VN. بيقول لك we want to show that the nth term of one of the two possible geometric progressions maybe لا تعالى كده نقول مثلا UN this is equal to 4 raised to the power of n minus 2 حلو multiplied by the other nth term of the other geometric progression اللي هي هتكون VN. ف we have two possible equations this أو ممكن تكون العكس ممكن تكون دي VN معلش ممكن تكون VN is equal to 4 raised to the power of n minus 2 times UN. فأنت للأسف هتضطر تعمل trial and error تجرب الاتنين أو لو جربت أول واحدة طلعت معاك صح يبقى خير وبركة. فعشان تعرف يعني which equation you'll have to use فأنا هقول لك كده من الآخر إن the equation that you'll have to use is going to be this one. هي دي حلو. ف Vn actually تعالى نشوف on the right hand side عندنا هنا 4 raised to the power of n minus 2 actually UN اللي هي 80 times 1 over 5 raised to the power of n minus 1 80 times 1 over 5 raised to the power of n minus 1 ده كده multiplied by 4 raised to the power of n minus 2. فاحنا تعالى ندخل الباور هندخلها في النيوميريتور والدينومينيتور هيطلع لنا 80 multiplied by 1 1 raised to the power of anything is equal to 1 divided by 5 raised to the power of n minus 1 حلو ودوت multiplied by 4 raised to the power of n minus 2. احنا هندخل ال 4 جوه حلو فهتكون كده 80 multiplied by 4 raised to the power of n minus 2 divided by 5 raised to the power of n minus 1. Okay, so we can write 4 raised to the power of n minus 2 as this 80 multiplied by a 4 raised to the power of negative 1 multiplied by 4 raised to the power of n minus 1. Okay, divided by 5 raised to the power of n minus 1 طبعا. we can ممكن multiply 80 by 4 raised to the power of negative 1 هتكون 80 divided by 4 اللي هي 20. alright, فلما نطلع 4 raised to the power of negative 1 برا we'll end up with 20 multiplied by a 4 raised to the power of negative 4 raised to the power of 9 minus 1 divided by 5 raised to the power of 9 minus 1. احنا ممكن نكتب ديت as 20 times 4 over 5 ونطلع our since we have the same exponent in the numerator and the denominator ممكن نحطها برا power into the whole bracket يعني. and we have proved that the nth term of 20 times of 80 times 1 over 5 raised to the power of n minus 1 multiplied by 4 raised to the power of n minus 2 is equal to the other nth term of the other geometric progression اللي هي 20 times 4 over 5 raised to the power of n minus 1. Okay, the equation for question number 10, the equation of a circle is x minus a squared plus y minus 3 squared equal to 20, and the line y is equal to x over 2 plus 6 is a tangent, meaning that it only touches the other graph to the circle at the point B. يقول لك بقى هنا for part A show that one possible value of A is 4 and find the other possible value for A. طبعا ماشي. تعالى بس كده قبل ما نبتدي عايزك تتخيل اللي بيحصل عندنا. أول حاجة طبعا عندنا هنا عندنا circle. حلو، نتخيل ان ديت circle ماشي، والسنتر بتاعها ايه هيكون A, 3. or let's call it A1 because we have two possible values of A not only one. ماشي، وانت عندك بقى هنا اللاين دوت has an equation of y is equal to x over 2 plus 6 and it's a tangent to the circle meaning it only touches the circle at one point. ماشي، but the reason why there are two possible values of A ان انت اللاين دوت ممكن يتوتش او ممكن السيركل معنى اصح تكون فوق او تحت التانجنت، يعني ممكن the other possible position of the circle ممكن يكون كده. ف I mean technically speaking هو اللاين دوت لسه tangent at this circle وبرضه it's a tangent at this circle. ف this concludes that we can have two different values of A. Okay, does that make sense? ماشي. تعالى كده بقى نرجع للسؤال. اول حاجه طبعا هنعملها هنا ان احنا الواي ايكويشن دي بتاعت اللاين هندخلها جوه الايكويشن بتاعت السيركل، فwe'll end up with x minus a squared plus y اللي هي هتكون x over 2 plus 6 minus 3 اللي هي plus 3 squared is equal to 20. and expand we'll end up with x squared minus 2ax plus a squared وهنا plus x squared over 4 plus 3x plus 9 is equal to 20. ماشي. subtract 20 from both sides and we'll end up with 9 ديت هتتشال وتكون negative 11. فلو شلناها كده اوكي نكتب negative 11 ونحط هنا 0. هتعديها دلوقتي. تعالى نريارينج شوية. 1 plus 1 over 4 gives us 5 over 4x squared. حلو. وتعالى factor out x from 3 and negative 2a. we'll end up with x times 3 minus 2a. وأخيرا our constants will become a squared minus 11. حلو. This is the equation that gets us these solutions for the circle and this linear line. Since this is a tangent, this line is a tangent to the circle, this means that there is only one solution. I can use the discriminant equation and form a new equation in terms of a by using the coefficients of x and our constants, and then we can solve for a. Since زي ما قلت تاني التangent دوت معناها one solution. It only passes through the curve of the circle at one distinct point. We'll use the discriminant equation b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0 because there's only one solution. بس عادي ممكن يكون في multiple possible values of a. انت شايف هنا عندنا this is b, this is c our constant, و a is the coefficient of x squared. فتعالى بقى نكتب هنا b squared اللي هي 3 minus 2a squared minus 4 times a اللي هي 5 over 4 و c اللي هي a squared minus 11. حلو. نحط ده equal 0. تعالى بس نسمبليفاي أكتر. ممكن ديت نعملها expand نكتب 9 minus 4 12a plus 4a squared وديت ودي هيتشالوا فهيكون minus 5 times a squared plus 55 is equal to 0. Let's further simplify. We'll end up with negative a squared and a minus 12a or 9 plus 55 gives us 64. فلازم كده multiply by negative 1 هيطلع لنا a squared plus 12a minus 64 is equal to 0. فانت تعالى بقى نفactorize this quadratic equation. We'll end up with two solutions, a minus 4 and a plus 16. This means that one solution for a is equal to 4 and the other solution for a is equal to negative 16. And here we go, we have proved that the possible value of a is 4, and we have also found the other possible value of a اللي هو يكون negative 16. انت كان ممكن بدل ما تفاكتور اوت ممكن تحط مثلا هنا a ب4. حلو. وهيطلع لك equal to 0. فكده كده انت خدت الدرجة بتاعت show that one possible value of a is 4 وتكمل تفاكتورايز وتطلع له the other solution of a. بس كده تمام. دلوقتي for part B بيقول لك for a is equal to 4 find the equation of the normal to the circle at P. دلوقتي لو a is equal to 4 هيكون الايكويشن الجديدة بتاعتنا بتاعت السيركل هتكون x minus 4 squared والy كان ايه بس اتأكد كده. y كان y minus 3 squared equal to 20. حلو. فرسمنا كده عندنا على اليمين xy plane. ارسمه قريب كده شوية عشان مفيش مساحة كتيرة. عندنا xy plane والسيركل بتاعنا السنتر بتاعها هيكون عنده coordinates 4, 3. حلو. السيركل بتاعتنا هيكون شكلها كده. coordinates ديت هتكون 4, 3 وعندنا tangent to the circle اللي هي الايكويشن بتاعته لو فاكرين كانت y is equal to x over 2 plus 4 تقريبا. was it? no plus 6 معلش. y is equal to x over 2 plus 6. tangent دوت اللاين دوت is a tangent to the circle at point P. بيقول لك بقى في السؤال طلع لي the equation of the normal to the circle. النورمال دوت معناه اللاين that is perpendicular to the tangent. perpendicular معناه عنده 90 degrees. فالشكل الجديد هيكون شكله كده. اوبس. الله ينور. حلو. this is 90 degrees. we can say that we already know that the gradient of the original line, okay, with the tangent يعني, the gradient of the tangent is equal to a half. this means that the gradient of the normal line will be the negative reciprocal of the gradient of the tangent. اللي هيكون negative 2. You multiply by negative 1 and then you take the reciprocal of this number. حلو. this is the gradient of the normal. دلوقتي we can use the straight line equation y minus y1 is equal to m multiplied by x minus x1 and then substitute your values to find the equation of the normal. بس الفكرة احنا ما عندناش x1 ولا y1. انت عشان تجيب x1 و y1 هتضطر تطلع فوق بقى و then you solve the equation بتاعت دي انهي واحدة equation ايوه ديت وتطلع على البوينت of intersection اللي هي p. بعدها تطلع الكوردينتس وسبستيتوتها هنا. ولكن بدل ما تعمل الرغي ده كله احنا عارفين ان any if we have a tangent and there's a perpendicular line to the tangent, that perpendicular line will pass through the center of the circle. حلو. if this normal line passes through the center of the circle, then we can use the coordinates of the center of the circle in our straight line equation of the normal. Does that make sense? تاني لو احنا عندنا tangent على circle بعدين رسمنا الnormal line of this tangent. حلو. this normal line will pass through the center of the circle. okay. فدلوقتي احنا عارفين center of the circle coordinates بتاعته 4, 3. I just substitute these وتبدأ substitute الجريدينت بتاعك. بتكتب هنا y minus 3 is equal to negative 2 times x minus 4. تعالى نروق الدنيا كده. هتلاقوا negative x plus 8 plus 3 plus 11 and this is our equation of the normal. دلوقتي for part C, for a is equal to 4, find the equations of the two tangents to the circle which are parallel to the normal found in part B. النورمال اللي احنا لسه طالعين الايكويشن بتاعته هنا اللي هو is equal to negative 2x plus 11. ماشي. تعالى بقى بص السؤال دوت هيطول معانا حبتين فتعالى كده نرسم سيركل كده محترمة. alright. نرسم نحط كده السنتر بتاعنا. السنتر بتاعنا is coordinates بتاعته 4, 3 ونرسم our normal line to point P. normal line to point P is كده مثلا. حلو. وعنده equation ايه؟ عنده equation y is equal to negative 2x plus 11. حلو. فبيقولك هنا في السؤال find the equation of the two tangents. عندنا two tangents to the circle طبعا which are parallel to the normal. الحتة ديت خطيرة جدا. which are parallel to the normal معناهم ال two tangents دول عندهم نفس ال gradient زي النورمال. فكان ممكن نقول ان ال gradient بتاعهم is equal to negative 2. ولو هم عندهم نفس ال gradient اكيد طبعا معناهم they will move in the same direction. They have the same rate of change of y over x. حلو. meaning that our two possible tangents will look like this. This is tangent 1 and our second tangent عنده نفس gradient which is ماشي will look like this. this is tangent 2 وطبعا it touches the circle once. let's call this coordinate x1 y1 وديت هنسميها x2 y2. an easy way احنا عارفين to find the equation of the tangents. حلو. we'll just use the straight line equation y minus y1 is equal to m, the gradient, multiplied by x minus x1. If I know the gradient is equal to negative 2, we just need to find the x coordinates and the y coordinates. And we do not know them as you can see right here. فهنعمل ايه دلوقتي؟ فلو انت كده فكرت فيها وتنحت كده على الصورة كويس قوي. There's a very clever way ان انت ممكن تحل السؤال دوت. Consider the diameter of the circle. بس the diameter I connected between these two lines. حلو. Okay. Actually let me just draw it as a straight line. would be better. Okay, this is the diameter of the circle. This region is the diameter. بعديها بس اللاين نكمل كده بعديها. حلو. We know that the diameter passes through the center, obviously. حلو. And we know that the diameter is perpendicular to the normal, meaning that it has the negative reciprocal gradient of the normal. فكان نكتب مثلا diameter line. الإيكويشن بتاعته هتكون إيه؟ هتكون كالآتي: y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. We know that m is equal to the negative reciprocal of negative 2 اللي هيكون half زي برضو الجريدينت بتاع tangent اللي كنا شفت حلينا في بورت A. والcoordinates هتكون إيه؟ 4, 3. just substitute your values. هيطلع لك y minus 3 is equal to a half multiplied by x minus 4. هيطلع لك your straight line equation is y is equal to x over 2 plus 1. ديت الإيكويشن بتاعت الدايمتر. فأنت ديت as you can see هنا الدايمتر line بتاعنا it passes through the circle at these two distinct points. With these 2 points we need them to find the equation of the tangent. If we equate the diameter line to the equation of the circle we can find the values of the x coordinates of these two intersections. حلو. We know that the circle equation is given by x minus 4 squared plus y minus 3 squared equal to 20. If I just substitute this into this bracket, giving us x minus 4 squared plus x over 2 plus 1 minus 3 is minus 2 squared is equal to 20. expand بقى وصل هو الدنيا عندك خالص x squared minus 8x plus 16 حلو plus x squared over 4 minus 2x plus 4 minus 20 ودي 20 دي هناك نحط ده كله equal to 0. تعالى بقى نروق الدنيا كده x plus x squared over x squared plus x over 4 ده يدينا 5x squared over 4 والنيجاتيف 8x minus 2x will give us negative 10x و 16 plus 4 that's 20 minus 20 is equal to 0. الله أكبر. Now let us كده factor out x from these two terms. هيطلع لنا 5x over 4 minus 10 is equal to 0. فكده we have two solutions for x. ممكن يطلع لنا ايه x is equal to 0 أو 5x over 4 is equal to 10. لما تعمل multiply by 4 بعدها divide by 5 هيطلع لك إن this equation the solution for it is x is equal to 8. حلو يعني اللي هو 10 times 4 divided by 5 yes that is equal to 8. فكده طلعنا our two solutions for x. let's مثلا say that this is 0 okay and this is going to be 8. دلوقتي انت ممكن substitute مثلا these two values of x into the equation of the diameter to find the y coordinates. ماشي فتعال نقول فيش مكان. الله أكبر. تعال مثلا ننزل تحت حبتين. الإيكويشن بتاعت الدايمتر بتقول لك y is equal to x over 2 plus 1. when x is equal to 0 هتحط 0 هنا هيطلع لك y is equal to 1. فنمسح ديت كده. حلو actually همسح ده كده كله نكتب in this coordinate هيكون 0 1. ماشي بعدين تعال نحط when x is equal to 8 هنا. ماشي when x is equal to 8 8 over 2 is 4 plus 1 is equal to 5. فهنمسح ديت. oh boy معلش يا شباب هرسم بس اللاين تاني. okay well this point is equal to we said that it was equal to 8 comma 5 yes 8 over 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. كده طلعنا our coordinates. دلوقتي we can finally substitute into this equation to find the tangent. معلش تعبنا شوية عادي اللي فيها لما نتعب يعني. let's write كده down y minus y1 y تعال نجيب مثلا this equation first. y minus y1 y1 اللي هي كام كانت 0 sorry y1 اللي هي 1. okay apologies someone was calling me. حلو we'll just substitute y minus 1 multiplied by the gradient اللي هو كان كام كان negative 2 times x minus 0 will end up that the equation of t1 is equal to اللي هي t1 هتكون y is equal to negative 2x plus 1. This is our first equation. بعدها for t2 هتكون y minus the y coordinate of the second one اللي هي هتكون 5 is equal to the negative 2 times x minus 8. Okay, so let us simplify this. We'll get that t2, the equation of it is y is equal to negative 2x. Negative 2 times negative 8 is 16, plus 5 is 21. And this is our second equation of the other tangent. Alhamdulillah, we have finally finished this question. Sorry, it was a long one. The equation of a curve is y is equal to k multiplied by the square root of 4x plus 1 minus x plus 5, where k is a positive constant. For part A بيقول لك find dy by dx. Now تعال نكتب y again بس نشيل square root ونكتب half, فيكون y is equal to k times 4x plus 1 raised to the power of a half minus x plus 5. أول حاجة تعال نعمل كده differentiate بقى. نعمل differentiate فنكتب dy by dx is given by. أول حاجة عشان نعرف differentiate this term right here هنعمل ايه؟ we'll multiply the constant by the exponent of the bracket هتكون k over 2. حلو. بعدها دوت هنعمل له multiply by the derivative of what's inside the bracket. يعني take 4x plus 1, find the derivative of 4x plus 1. The derivative of 4x plus 1 is simply 4. حلو. فهتعملها multiply by 4 multiply by that same bracket, the same bracket بدون الكونستنت اللي برا 4x plus 1 بس you will subtract 1 from the exponent. فهتعمل half minus 1 اللي هي هتجيلك negative half. تكتب هنا negative half. Obviously the derivative of negative x would be negative 1 و 5 would be 0. Let us rearrange this. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2k. هننزل ديت تحت because the exponent is negative. Square root of 4x plus 1 over 2 minus 1, and this is our final answer. ماشي. Now بيقول لك for part B find the x coordinate of the stationary point in terms of k. The stationary point معناها that dy by dx is equal to 0. لو رسمت a tangent line on a stationary point, I'll see that the gradient is 0 because it is parallel to the x axis. Okay. فتعالى نسد this to be equal to 0. هتكتب كده هنا 2k divided by the square root of 4k plus 1 minus 1 is equal to 0. And now let us find the sorry, it is 4x مش 4k. okay, 4x. And now let us solve for x. We'll add 1 to both sides, giving us 2k is equal to, divided by the square root of 4x plus 1 is equal to 1. هتودي دي هناك and then divide by 1. It ends up with the square root of 4x plus 1 is equal to 2k. بعدها you'll square both sides. Squaring both sides will give us 4k plus 1. The square root will square هيكنسلوا equal to 4k squared. Sorry, I did the same mistake again. This is 4x not 4k. حلو. بعدها subtract 1. بعدها divide by 4 to find x. x would be equal to 4k squared minus 1. Divide that by 4. And this is the x coordinate of our stationary point in terms of k. تمام. بيقول لك هنا for part C, given that k is equal to 10.5, find the equation of the normal to the curve at the point where the tangent to the curve makes an angle of tan inverse of 2 with the positive x-axis. That's a very nice question. ماشي. بيقول لك هنا عندنا tangent to the curve. مثلا let's pick any point. Let's مثلا choose this one. It has coordinates x1 y1. okay. ورسمنا tangent to it. لو رسمت tangent إن شاء الله أعرف أرسمه من أول مرة. بسم الله. الله أكبر. okay. سبحان الله. ماشي. this tangent نكتب هنا tangent. It makes an angle of tan inverse of 2 with the positive x-axis, which is this angle right here. It makes angle theta, and theta is equal to tan inverse of 2. حلو. فاحنا we want to find the equation of normal to the curve at the point where the tangent. عاوزين نجيب the equation of normal to this tangent. the normal will obviously be perpendicular to the tangent. okay, فلمي كده sketch it. the normal هيكون شكله كده. بسم الله. okay, this should be our normal. it's perpendicular to our tangent. ماشي. بيقول لك given that k is equal to 10.5 فتعالى كان substitute 10.5 into our y equation and our derivative equation. فأول k is equal to 10.5 هيطلع لك y is equal to 10.5 the square root of x plus 1 minus x plus 5. مظبوط كده؟ حلو. والديريفيتيف هتكون 2k وماشي. اوكي، ف 2 times 10.5 is equal to 21. 2 times 10.5 yes 21. ف dy by dx is given is equal to 21 divided by the square root of x plus 1 minus 1. حلو قوي. فاحنا عاوزين نجيب the equation of this straight line اللي هو النورمال يعني. how can we do this؟ تعالى كده نشوف الانجل بتاعتنا. احنا عندنا الانجل ثيتا ديت we can calculate it just by drawing a right angle triangle. ممكن يكون كده right angle triangle. حلو. بعدها هنقول ان tan ثيتا is equal to y over x. y over x دوت ايه؟ يعتبر الجريدينت بتاع اللاين. حلو. احنا عارفين الجريدينت بتاع اللاين can be calculated by f dash of x1. the gradient at this point on the graph on the curve عشان it's basically a tangent معناها it will have the same gradient as the curve at this point. صح؟ ماشي. ف f prime of x1 is simply equal to 21 divided by the square root of x1 plus 1 minus 1. فزي ما قلنا tan theta is equal to y over x. y over x هي ديت ال derivative function. فهنقول ان نغير اللون كده اوضح شوية. هنقول ان tan of the angle theta و theta is equal to tan inverse of 2. صح؟ حلو. دوت كده is equal to our f prime function اللي هي تكون 21 divided by the square root of x1 plus 1 minus 1. فtan of tan inverse of 2 هيكنسلوا مع بعض هيدينا بس 2. ف 2 is equal to 21 divided by actually هنطلع البراكت فوق نطلع square root فوق فهيكون 21 بعديها x1 plus 1 raised power negative half minus 1 بعديها let us solve for x1. ف 2 plus 1 بعديها divide by 21 هتكون 3 divided by 21 اللي هي equal to 1 over 7. ف x1 plus 1 raised power of negative half is equal to 1 over 7. هناخد the negative square root of sorry we will square both sides فهتكون x1 plus 1 raised power of negative half raised power of negative 2 بقى المرة دي. حلو. equal to 1 over 7 raised power of negative 2. فده هيطلع لك x1 is equal to قلنا x1 is equal to هتكون 49 minus 1 اللي هي equal to 48. بس wait a minute I think I did a mistake. y is equal equation كانت ايه 4x. اوكي هنا 4x معلش يا شباب. اوكي فانا هنحط 4 هنا 4 فهتكون 4x1 is equal to 48 كده 4x1 is equal to 48. فهندivide both sides by 4 وهيطلع لنا x1 is equal to 12. كده الx coordinate بتاع the point at the tangent ديت كده يساوي 12. فهنحط x equal 12 into our y function عشان نطلع the y coordinate. فهيطلع لك هنا y is equal to 10.5 square root of 4 times 12 plus 1 minus 12 plus 5 هيطلع لك y is equal to ثانية كده احطها على calculator هيطلع لنا 66.5. حلو قوي. دلوقتي we can finally find the equation of the normal by using the straight line equation y minus y1 is equal to m multiplied by x minus x1. y1 is 66.5 and x1 is equal to 12. ولكن what is the gradient? Well the gradient is the negative reciprocal of the tangent. احنا عارفين ان الجريدينت بتاع التانجنت is equal to 2 يعني اوكي. ف gradient بتاع النورمال هيكون negative half. ف y minus 66.5 is equal to negative half times x minus 12. روق الدنيا كده. You'll end up with y being equal to negative x over 2. 6 plus 66.5, that's equal to 72.5. Walhamdulillah, we have finished this paper. I hope you guys have learned something new. Wa inshallah, I'll see you next time in the next video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.